Right?
All right. Hello, everybody, and welcome to this exciting session where we will talk about the thoughts, how to master your thoughts, and therefore master your life. I will be interviewed by Anne today, and I will let her introduce herself.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Anastasia. For those of you who don't know me, I'm Ann Babiars. I am a personal development coach. I own Pilot Fish Personal and Professional Development and have been on the air and off the air for a long time. And I'm so happy to be here with Anastasia to interview her all about overcoming overthinking. So, gosh, thank you for the opportunity to be on your show today, Anastasia.
Oh, absolutely. Thank you so much. And I'm so excited that you're here and our opportunity to talk about this very important topic that a lot of people, I'm sure, have in mind. So,
Well, and I'm sure a lot of the people that'll be watching today are your normal crowd, your more normal audience, so they know a little bit about your background. Um,
mhm.
but I'm sure there are going to be other people that don't know everything about your background. So, would you mind if I shared a little bit about you?
Absolutely. That'd be a pleasure.
So, Anastasia's journey is a testament to the power of embracing change while maintaining balance between her corporate career. As you probably already know, Anastasia is a CPA, which is a little different than a yoga instructor. So that's kind of an interesting dissection between fields. And she's had a journey with the whole idea of overthinking and how that impacts you both personally and professionally. And she's learned a lot through that journey, which has brought her here so that she can share all about this exciting topic.
Thank you very much, Anne, for this introduction. Very much appreciated. This is very true. I am very passionate about the thoughts and how the thoughts may affect your, will affect, not may affect, but will affect anything that you aspire to, anything you feel. Everything stems from thought. I'm known to kind of get to the root of the things. And so I really feel like being at the root of the things, kind of just exploring this realm of thoughts. So excited to talk about it. And um, if you have any questions along the way, please feel free to um, enter your questions in the chat. So.
Perfect. Perfect. Well, I do have some questions as this is an interview. Um,
Absolutely. I am ready.
well, the first question is how did you, what really led your journey to go into this type of a business, just because of the diversity in your background? Really?
Absolutely. Yeah, this is a really fun question that I love answering. And a lot of people who know me, from the CPA perspective, they're really surprised to know that I'm actually a yoga teacher and the other way around. So when I think about what took me to shift gears from CPA to becoming a yoga teacher, is I think about searching for motivation, for determination, and that feeling, when you wake up in the morning and you know that you've got this, and you know that everything that you have in mind, any goals that you set out to achieve, you're going to achieve. At least you're going to do necessary steps and have motivation, strength, and ability to move closer to that goal. And so at some point in life, I started experiencing the lack of that determination or motivation. And you may ask, okay, so if you're in search for that, have you not felt that before you started embarking on the yoga journey? And yes I did. And I knew the exact feeling of it, and I was really craving for it when it just left me without any notice, for extended period of time. I did not feel motivation or determination in achieving the goals or going after something that would get me out of bed and I'd say, look, I am so excited for today. And so we are all naturally motivated. We're naturally happy. When we're born as kids, we're oftentimes just exploring things, we just get up in the morning and we're just excited to learn, to explore new things and to achieve something. We don't have restrictions in our mind when we think about the goal. We know it's something that we want, and our parents all of a sudden tell us no. We say, why?
Why
I
can't I
really
do
want that. Yes, exactly. And so I think I was able to maintain that sort of environment inside until about 13 years ago. And so I was naturally connected with myself. I did not take no for an answer, even, being an adult. And so I was ready for any obstacles, anything that could come across my way. I was ready and determined to overcome and find ways to achieve my goals. So, um, you know, this motivation I experienced was as counterintuitive as it sounds, was
Mhm.
before I actually became a CPA. And this was before I set out this goal in my head of becoming a big CEO of a multi-billion dollar company. By the way, I did not achieve that yet. It was, I suppose, my goals changed a little bit. But when I was thinking about that goal, it somehow stopped thriving me. I stopped being excited about it. And the reason I'm talking about it, because what is your goal? It's a thought. So I had this thought in my head in the form of a goal that didn't excite me. And that was even before some years into marriage that I had, that eventually kind of proved itself to be what they call a non-reconcilable differences, I have to say. And so it was all before that. And then all of a sudden, gradually, I started to lose it. I don't think I was noticing that timely. By the time I've noticed, I lost my motivation. That was gone. And so I was in search. So I started changes with healthy eating and just healthier lifestyle. So I drew wisdoms from Dave Asprey a lot, who is a lot about kind of like a 360-degree uh, healthy environments that includes external toxins, internal toxins, in terms of information, food, anything you can imagine. So I think that was a great foundation, great start for me to start redirecting my thoughts, redirecting my mind, redirecting where I was going and how I was feeling, most importantly. And so from there, I kind of embarked on a lot of reading, a lot of information. I tried multiple physical activities. I was running, I was swimming, I was involved with heavy lifting, personal training, physical personal training, and I was able to achieve impressive results. However, once I started my journey with yoga,
Mhm.
I realized that this physical activity is not just a physical activity involvement, because I started to feel. And I started to feel good or bad during experiencing the yoga asanas, which is physical asanas,
Mhm.
part of the yoga. And I remember the teacher saying, me being in the warrior two pose, and the teacher saying, look, now I'd like you to really engage through your palms and, spread your fingertips wide, engage your arms, look slightly directly above your front arm, and remember your intention and your goal for the class. Well, my intention for the goal was to get my motivation back, because that's been my intention for a while at that point. And all of a sudden, I saw this vision. That was my goal, at that time, that came to me during the class. And I saw the group of people. I knew those group of people were the same goal oriented. We had the same goals, the same values. I thought this was my team, my team that I would be creating. And I just envisioned a huge house, some place in Florida because I could smell the Florida. And there's a very special smell that I feel when I think about the Florida. And so that just made me so incredibly happy. Part of those people in the group was my life partner. I knew there was my life partner. That was I was seeing, I was feeling, I was smelling this everything. And this was so live. And I thought I was engaging with a physical activity, but I was not. I mean, I was, but that was way more than that. And that's where I decided to really dig further.
Well,
And
and when you were going through that, Anastasia, just with all the training that you did in other types of exercise, once you really dug into yoga, did you stop doing everything else and just focus on yoga, or how did you mix that up? Just
when,
curious.
oh, absolutely. When I started in terms of physical involvement, I did stop being involved with most other physical activities. I did incorporate running as well. I think it's great in terms of the physical involvement to have various muscles be engaged at a different time. So the mixture is always great. But the focus was on yoga. It was. And not only was that on yoga, but that was more on the philosophical and mental part of it. So,
Mhm.
fast forward, I became a yoga teacher. Fast forward, then I um, realized that the most important events in my life came from yoga engagements that weren't related to yoga goals at all. It just turned around that way. That kind of served as a sign for me that it was in the right direction. Um, and fast forward, I have realized that yoga is not just physical activity, but it's a emotional and mental stability. And I just learned how to harness that in order to achieve physical results. So towards my 40s, I learned to do handstands and splits and things that I weren't able to do when I was 20. And so
You know
fast
what
forward,
it's interesting that type of journey that you had, because a lot of folks, when because I owned fitness studios years ago, and I used to teach a lot of classes, and I was on my feet all the time, and I really, really kind of overdid it when I was doing that. And one of the things that I had a friend that was very interested in yoga, and she actually did it. That was her practice. She did nothing else. And one of the things that she said to me, she's like, you really need to think about how you're pounding your body when you're doing all of these other things. And while they're physical fitness, not necessarily like you're going to head into your 60s and you're going to have injuries that are going to pop up and you're not going to know where they're from. And they're from pounding your body years prior. So she said her point was, it's so much better for your body. It's a much more flowing type of exercise. And one thing I have to say about your videos, in I mean, and the best part of the videos, I think too, is the way that you go through the movements and you explain them, and you explained the physical dynamics of them and so forth. So I just wanted to compliment you on that. I know that was a long way to get to that, but really, that is one of the best things about the work that you're doing.
thank you so much for bringing that up too. And I appreciate your compliments. That means very much to me. I think the very important thing to say here, alignment is extremely important in the poses. You are exactly right in terms of the fact that if poses are done incorrectly, this becomes even dangerous. However, I think what yoga biggest benefit here is those flowy movements do have effect on the mind. And so, but then in turn the benefits that come back to the physical body come from the mental stability, from emotional stability, from the ability to be patient, from the ability to be loving towards yourself, from the ability to be consistent with the habits, to the willingness to change the habits if you see the need for the change. So when the mental and emotional state are strong, then things become more effortless, more natural, and and the goals are achieved at a different scale. And
Mhm.
so I think it stems from more so of a mental stability that yoga brings than anything else. And thoughts serve an exponentially, I think, exponential, profound component in this contributing to this development of the kind of just overall well-being, overall lifestyle, overall habit patterns, thoughts, and mind patterns that can really contribute to everything that we do in life. And so I think, and that includes physical achievements, and that makes it so much easier and more effortless and more natural. So
Yeah, absolutely. And so then there lies the question, as you're thinking about all of this, what is overthinking? Like, where did you really identify that that was what was going on for you?
uh-huh. Overthinking is a repetitive thinking or overanalyzing thoughts over and over again, thoughts, decisions, and potentially problems or previously taken place events at an extensive degree or at a hurtful degree even. So when we do that, it often leads to analysis paralysis. We can't come up with a decision. It leads to stress, anxiety, and oftentimes to depression. It's it leads to inability to disconnect, because when thoughts are constantly circulating in our mind, it's very hard to disconnect and connect with your inner wisdom, your inner truthful knowledge
Mhm.
from from where everything else stems. And so to expand the understanding of overthinking and its effects, I'd like to talk about the rumination, which is a psychological knowledge or notion. Um, it's a psychological term that refers to persistent and repetitive thinking about dull thoughts. And the onset of such thoughts may or may not be triggered by an traumatic event. So what happens, we just keep thinking about dull thoughts, or we all have dull thoughts at times. The difference is that we can either engage with those thoughts or we can allow them be and fall behind their energy. So rumination is literally engaging with the dull thoughts energy to the point that it affects your body, your mental, emotional state, your mental and emotional state, uh, to where we experience what we call stress or anxiety. I think this is already the terms that we defined to say this is what we say is stress, this is what we say is anxiety. But I think
Mhm.
there are levels of it too. Once a dull thought appears in the mind, the moment we start engaging with that, we're at some level of stress already. We just don't call it stress yet because maybe it didn't manifest to the point we call it stress. Or rumination. Rumination is already a psychological term that we already said, okay, like this is too much overthinking, like it's already it needs to be treated. That's a complete other level. But all of this is really just engagement with the negative thoughts. The more we bring our attention to something, the more it manifests itself. That's literally what is happening here. And we all have thoughts, and there's a reason for this, a wonderful reason for it. We want thoughts, but we want to master them to be able to make them work for us. Because if we can't master them, they might very much not work for us and cause us stress, anxiety, depression, rumination, and overthinking and such. So, and once we're in the state of this anxiety, depression, ruminations, what happens, we're unable to spend the time with our loved ones, we're not being able to be in the present moment. Anything that's happening in an event, or just people gather together, maybe your family, you're just thinking about something, you're not here, not creating a quality time with your family, with the loved ones. You're not able to reap the benefits of the present moment and be grateful for what you're experiencing right now, because gratefulness is found in the present moment. It's in the
Absolutely.
present moment that you can harness anything that's happening. You can look at the tree and find the beauty in it and find gratefulness in it. And the more you find gratefulness for the beautiful tree, the more beautiful trees and nature will come to you. And it applies
Absolutely.
to everything else. So, and I think important part of it in overthinking is to address the not just psychological, but physiological effect on overthinking, because I want to be clear that thoughts have effect on our physiology, as much as a lot of people don't believe that. I mean, I think it's
Oh,
factual.
they do.
They do. They literally cause inflammation, heart attacks, the binge, unthankful eating. We eat because we think in the wrong direction. We overeat because we think in the wrong direction. So, and that all of these things, especially things like inflammation, that causes diseases. And we know that most of the diseases, 74% of global deaths for World Health Organization, are preventable. They're non-communicable diseases.
That is
Uh,
a heck of a statistic.
it is. I thought this was absolutely fascinating. And so why do people die due to cardiovascular problems, so heart attacks, diabetes, cancer, chronic respiratory diseases? Those are the four culprits. 80% of cardiovascular and diabetes diseases is preventable. That's the huge number. Now, 30 to 50% of cancerous diseases are also preventable. So, I think those numbers can show us how fundamental our thoughts are, and how we can incorporate little tweaks in the form of thoughts and just healthy eating, because what we put in our body is also as important. But what I'm saying is emotional health that's underestimated oftentimes in our community, in our Western society. They are, if not the same, they're just there. It could even be more, in my opinion, they're more important, because that'll trigger healthy eating too, if their thoughts are in the right place.
Well, and you're so right about when you think about healthy eating, because one of the things that, as a life coach, personal development coach, I have a lot of clients that come to me, and during during the pandemic and slightly after the pandemic, I had a lot of people coming to me with the one glass of wine that turned into two. They'd be at home, they'd be cooking dinner, and it just became a habit. So it was just a repetitive habit.
Yeah,
And to to really unwind yourself from that, because it's their form of relaxation.
that is
It's a
exactly right. Yes, we embark on this relaxation tools, that eventually, you're exactly right, become habits, because we become addicted to that. We naturally, as I mentioned in the beginning, we want happiness, and we find this fleeting happiness without thinking the longer term effects. And even not the longer, I mean, in the morning, that doesn't feel good, does it? Maybe it's just a fleeting effect. So misleading in the moment of drinking the wine, of having that, it's sort of junk food, maybe like filled with the sugar, and given that fleeting moment, it's not a happy moment. It's just, I wouldn't call it a happy moment, but yes, we find pleasure in it, but it's so fleeting. And they say that the true happiness, it's lasting, you
Mhm.
know and I think that's the reason why the CPA certification was the cultivation of moment in my life, to realize that, because I was happy for like a week, and that was such an achievement for me. I worked so hard for it.
I
And
am
then
sure you did. I heard that exam is very challenging.
it is very challenging. And I thought, in a week, I thought, where did that go? I spent so much time working for it. I thought it was gonna bring happiness. So no, it did not. And what happened instead is yoga practices showed me how the internal happiness is developed from within. Yes, it builds confidence. I'm not saying you need to stop everything now and, stop achieving the goals, but I'm just saying to not be reliant on the external circumstances to find happiness or determination.
Yeah, well, and as we're talking through this, where do you think the role of meditation fits in? I mean, how can that really help you move from the process of overthinking or being anxious, things like that?
This is a wonderful question and a lot of times misunderstood question. So I want to kind of give a brief overview of the types of the meditations in the big buckets, so that there are different types of meditations and that each meditation actually carries different benefits. So there is three categories kind of found by researchers that are the types of meditations, and one of them is focused attention, another is open monitoring meditation, and then self-transcending practices. Focused attention involve meditations like vipassana, zen, loving compassion, and they're all tailored towards focusing your attention on one thing. It could be a lit candle, it could be even a shape in your mind, maybe a heart if it's a loving kindness meditation. It could be even a thought. It could be a thought. It could be a thought, something like I am safe. And
Mhm.
so, very interestingly, too, researchers found that the brain waves developed at the time of the focused attention type meditation is um, gamma. Gamma is a pretty fast
Interesting.
paced type of brain waves, and they promote increased concentration. Again, what do we bring attention to? Focused attention. We're focusing on one thing. All right. The second one is open monitoring, and that involves mindfulness, Kriya Yoga type meditations. And so this one is tailored towards taking the role of observer without judgment. That's where we fall behind the thoughts energy, either good or bad. It's just the practice. It's the ability to fall behind the energy of the thought. It's the ability to take the seat of the observer. And just like a muscle, your brain will learn to do that. Your my brain will form new neural connections. Your brain a moment ago is not the same as your brain now in this moment,
Mhm.
because everything you're learning now as you listen to us, you're already putting connections with what you knew in the past, and now you have different neural connections already. This is how fast our brain changes. And so when you practice something like that on a daily, consistent basis, and consistency is the key in everything, then your brain automatically develops this skill to be able to not get engaged with the thoughts. And guess what it does to overthinking? It prevents it completely, because I mean, you might overthink, but at a lot a lesser degree. So here is that. We've got self-transcending meditation, type meditation. That includes transcendental meditation or mantra meditation.
Mhm.
And in both cases, the idea is that we use mantra as a vehicle that takes us to transcend completely beyond any thoughts, beyond any perceptions, beyond any senses, beyond any bias, beyond anything. And so that's where we feel truly connected with what they call, could be, creative intelligence, true energy, consciousness. And from there stems your biggest ideas. From there stems your ability to connect with yourself, knowing yourself. So as far as brain waves, and I'm sorry I missed that, but with the open Mandarin we talked about before, the brain waves that are developed is theta brain waves. I wanted to kind of show you that even scientifically we see such amazing differences. Brain waves are different, when we use those different types of meditations. And so for the self-transcending type, we see alpha 1 developing in our brain, which is leads to enhanced cognitive ability and emotional stability because
Very
we are
interesting.
there. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's pretty exciting. So my advice here is try different meditations and pick one that feels good to you.
Out of curiosity, Anastasia, you said transcendent meditation. Is that transcendental? Is that the same thing?
Yes, it's part of the self-transcending category of meditations, but yes, it includes transcendental meditations and mantra meditations, and they're different in the way their techniques work, and even alpha 1 waves are developed differently. It is known that transcendental meditation develops a more prominent alpha 1, coherent alpha 1 brain waves that integrate your regions of the brain more cohesively, creating kind of a stronger effect. And I'd say try your meditations and know what works for you. And I say that for two reasons. One is because we're all different. There's no one size fits all. Two, we're all at a different place. So I started my meditations through guided meditations.
Mhm.
Particularly, I used Brain Tap for my guided meditation, and that's where I wanted to be. I didn't feel like just being with my thoughts and trying to experiment with the falling behind their energy. I
Mhm.
didn't want that. Some people have a harder time to close their eyes and just not think about anything. Sometimes we say close the eyes and don't think about anything. Nope, not possible. Actually, this would be deemed as a state of samadhi, which is the end goal of being in unity, so this is something people work towards and take years to get to. So close your eyes and don't think about anything is almost, oh, and some work needs done in order to get there.
It's so funny because it wouldn't seem like a lot of work to not think, but it is. It absolutely is.
Exactly. Yes. So lead your way there. If you feel a harder time to close the eyes, practice walking meditation. This will take you one step at a time. It's a quantum leap. Really, it is. I think about the speedy paths that they have at the airports. My last trip, I was thinking about it actually. I was thinking, I'm taking the same steps, but it takes with a speedy lane, it takes me there faster. But if that lane was moving too fast, I would have needed a fastening belt to fasten myself in order to not fly away, or
Mhm.
I might have hurt myself. So you don't want to take yourself. My point here is from one place to a completely different place. Take it one step at a time. And so if right now you struggle to close the eyes, then practice walking meditation and then move to the guided meditation where you can close your eyes, and then move to the mindfulness meditation. We can start scanning your body and then go to mantra meditation, to transcendental meditation where you can practice mantra. In other cases, transcendental meditation is the first thing people try and find it completely effortless. They find it easy. They want to practice that meditation and stick with it. Like I said, not one size fits all. It is your journey. This is completely for you to experiment with, but don't overthink. Don't try to try 10,000 meditation before you come up with the right one, because it's not
That's
a
all right.
good path either.
We did, my husband and I used to go to a meditation class. It was a Buddhism, and it
Zen.
was we did, yes, we did, walking meditation, sitting meditate. I mean, they had a little different, everything is different. Every class, it's just a little uh, a hair different, but it was a lot of fun, and we really enjoyed it. And it's the most relaxing. You rush to get to class, and then you're like, oh, well, now I'm relaxed.
That's
And
right.
what things does that do for your mind? It really does.
It does that at the moment of the meditation. And more importantly, with consistent practice, it takes it to your daily activity. And that's the goal, because that lowers your bars for reactivity. If anything bad happens, if a triggering event happens that used to um, cause you to affect in a negative way, will now have no effect on you. You're literally creating loving um, shield. I don't like to use shield. It's not the right word. It's not the right even thinking. We're not building a shield. We're actually connecting instead. But I just want to give you an idea that you literally just raise your bars for reactivity, because your neural connections reform and they start to build stronger foundation around positive thinking. You're just automatically and naturally start to not think negative. It takes subconscious involvement. It takes this type of kind of intervention. It's not an intervention, because meditation is natural. Again, I'm very careful with the words here, but I just want to deliver the message. And with consistent practice, it becomes your daily activity state where you feel peaceful, you're not triggered, you're more loving, you're more happy. So those are all the benefits of the meditation. Overthinking by itself falls behind. It's not there anymore.
So, how long does it take for someone to really not necessarily master the practice of meditating, but to really create that consistent practice of meditating?
I'm a hard believer that the consistent practice of meditation can be developed now. You can start right now after this session with your first session, and you can make a plan. You can say, tomorrow I either will try a different meditation or I will stick to this one. And you will find that your every experience in meditation is different. So even if you're practicing the same meditation, which I highly recommend, I wouldn't recommend you consistently doing different meditations. The best benefit you'll get is by sticking to one. Once you find one, then you'll experience different sensations at the time of the meditation. And the goal or the key to this is to not have any expectations by to be something or do something or feel something by the end of the practice. You want to come into it innocently, without any expectations to say, oh,
And
okay, now I'm going to feel calm.
that is so difficult for people that is like the antithesis of what.
Ex- this is exactly right.
Mhm.
And there will be always something. That's why I'm saying, we don't want to say, now I'm consistent in my practice. There will always be something. So therefore, start today, and you can develop and you will develop your consistent practice today, because tomorrow you'll meditate again, and tomorrow and the day after tomorrow, and so on. You don't have to stick to, again, if you can't meditate for 20 minutes, though this would be my recommendation, 20 minutes a day. I meditate twice a day, 20 minutes twice a day, in the morning and in the evening. And that would be my ideal recommendation. But if you want to start less than that, then you can go for it. And people are very different. It's very hard to say this is general average, to say start with the 3 minutes, and then in, say, 3 months, you can begin with 20 minutes. Because for some it'll be 6 months, for some it'll be no months, it'll be one day. They'll right away start with 20 minutes. So listen to yourself, and to what feels good, and stick to it. Meditations will become addictive too, because then you'll eventually you'll start, if because Anne asked a question, when does it become a habit, a consistency? For me, it started almost immediately, after I moved to transcendental meditation, because I started with the guided meditation,
Mhm.
and I was looking forward to it in the evening because I felt like it was giving me this um, unwind feeling and the feel good feeling. And so then I moved to mindfulness for a little bit. I wasn't able to get consistent with that. So I then my next step was transcendental meditation. And I shortly after, say a week after that, I was craving it. I was like, okay, um, when is my meditation time? So
Really,
it
yeah,
could be
it's
your next day. It could be your next week. So be patient with yourself, be patient with yourself.
well, you know how adults will say to children when they say, "What do you want for Christmas, mom?" "I want peace and quiet."
Right.
There's
That
where
is
you can get it.
that's exactly right. Peace and quiet is inside. And you know what's more? People around you will notice it and they will act accordingly too. I mean, if you're frustrated, because I'm speaking with my from my personal experience, if I
Mhm.
was frustrated with my kids and the way they acted in certain ways, I started just seeing myself in them eventually. And I thought if I'm not doing it myself, I can speak a million words and it's not going to make any difference. So when I started practicing meditation, say mm, about a year after that, I've heard from my kids is that we can feel the difference, and they provided certain examples, how I they sense more peace from me,
That's
and
awesome.
they were given that in response. So it's starting from you what you want to get from your kids.
Well, you know,
So
it's really yeah, and that's interesting too, and this is maybe a little bit outside the interview, but I'll bring it in anyway. That is, we were talking about human design. We've had that
um,
conversation, and one of the areas of human design is how you respond. And for certain people that have a sacral response, you have to develop the ability to not jump at things right away. Like if somebody asks you something, you have to really take a step back and think about what, and meditation really allows you that, kind of gives you that barrier, that space to do that.
exactly, because that clears the nervous system from the toxins that aggravate that. And so you're not aggravated
Right.
anymore like this. And so your response is different. I love that you brought up the human design. I wanted to talk a little bit about doshas too, because
Yes.
dosha is kind of like a human design in the yogic world. And so we have vatas, pitas, and kaphas, who are the three different types that can actually behave differently in terms of overthinking and have their focus different in terms of overthinking. Vadas are more deemed the more of the people who are changing from one place to another. Their element is air, and so they change from one place to another. They think one thought right now and completely the other in the next moment. They quickly forget things. They come up with stuff. They're very creative, but then they forget it the next moment. They forget where their focus is. So their overthinking tendencies create more anxiety because they're just all over the place, and their ideas scattered, and their thinking is oftentimes in the future because they're coming up with things. Very creative people, but they're constantly, most of the time their thinking is in the future. That's their tendency. Now we go to pitas. Pitas are fires, and they just are so determined. They have goals all the time in their mind. They act on the goals. They analyze things. Their problem is perfectionism. That's the type of overthinking, because you try to come up with the perfect way to launch anything or do anything, and in the end you never do it because you're just trying to get it perfect too much
And
until you
done is
can.
better than perfect sometimes.
That's right. Life is just everything else but perfect. So, you know, that's Peter's tendency. And they are also oftentimes in the future, but not because they're coming up with the ideas. and we never just one type, but that's tendency we're talking. And so, but they're coming up with their to-do list because they're already strategizing. They're like, okay, here's my goal, here's what I need to do, and it's supposed to be perfect. Oh my gosh, I didn't do this. There we go. So, and then we've got Kafas who are very empathetic, very kind people. They just want to help, and their tendencies are around overthinking are focused on the past, because when something happened, they're very sensitive. They think about it, and they can't overcome. And so when this is not put kind of in play together to where they can collect their thoughts and not allow them take that tendency, then they can find themselves in the past thinking of the event of something happened. That's probably where depression and rumination comes in. So those are I think very exciting things to kind of learn about yourself. With that said, I do want to use this opportunity and to share with you that we have a very exciting summit coming up. The first event takes place on November 30, where we will talk about doshas, and we will use this time in order to identify your dosha and your tendencies for overthinking, for which will then in turn help to overcome that overthinking when you know your tendency. And so and we have a couple other participants there who will combine forces together in order to share with you how to put an impressive plan together in order to take steps to come to the place in life that you'd like to be in. I'm going to share a link with you that you can follow.
Very exciting, and it's going to be a couple of different parts for the summit, but all beneficial for you to make sure your 2025 is your best year yet.
That is exactly right. That's exciting. We have a new year coming up, and our second event, and we will confirm that, but January 1st is our second event of the summit, where we will revisit everything we talk about on November 30, and we will keep you responsible for this.
Yes.
And we will put this in action, and we want to follow through and ensure that everything that you've learned is put into practice, and any questions that you have are answered. And you are staying determined and excited, and the motivation, like it happened with me, isn't going anywhere without notice. It's there every day. And that your thoughts are conducive of achieving that goal as well.
Well, and one more quick thing, Anastasia, is how can people, before the summit, or maybe even after the summit, how can they work with you? How can they find you and all the wonderful information that you can share?
Absolutely. I am excited to share my classes, Friday morning classes that we hold every Friday, every week, that help you to set the foot on the right track every morning, and make sure you're motivated and determined to do the steps that you need to do to be happy. So in that, and I just shared, this is the second link I just shared, where you can sign up for free for any of this class and experience the 4 parts of the process, which involves breath work, it involves meditation, and will alternate different types of meditation. So if you sign up for multiple classes, you'll be able to get a feel for every different meditation and understand what works for you. Will include flowy, meditative, physical asanas, physical yoga as well. And in the end, we will use journaling in order to reflect on how you feel and raise awareness of how to love your body, how to understand how you feel, and how to use that for the upcoming day in order to maximize your fullest potential.
So this is much more than a yoga class.
It is. Actually, I think that's a real yoga class because the yoga comes from the word huge, which means unity. And that's yoga has 8 limbs to it. Physical practice is just one of them. And I think it's another misconception that Western culture has, that yoga is a physical involvement, but really it's just 1/8 of the yoga. Meditation and breath work are the other two. There's it involves also ethical, um, ethical kind of state, because it does affect your thoughts as well. What you had done yesterday, if that wasn't ethical, not in line with your true self, it'll hunt you down. So
Well,
that's why it's part of it.
yeah,
So
and it's interesting how many different disciplines it wraps together, because when you think about some of the exercises that I give people as a coach, one of them is called the morning pages, and it's from um, gosh, what was her name? It was in a book about authors that was really specific for authors, and Julia Cameron was the author.
uh-huh, uh-huh.
And, it's an exercise where you wake up and you write for, I think she says 20 minutes. So it's 20 minutes, you just free write. Free write, it gets all the stuff, it's a brain dump, and you anything that's on your mind, it's on the paper. And it's almost like the whole experience of observing your thoughts. You know, you're gonna observe them on paper, and so you can decide whether that thought works for you or it doesn't, or why is it showing up, and
I
what can you
love
do to move around it. And it's the same thing that you can do in meditation, and when you get very good at it.
That is fantastic. I absolutely love it. I always think that expression through journaling is extremely therapeutical exercise to do on a daily basis. And I love how you mentioned that this is a reflection on your thoughts, because it is. And I want to add a little other tip to make it even this session even more valuable for those who want to start trying now to addressing their thoughts, is just pay attention how you feel, because what you feel is the result of what you think. The thinking is the first step.
Mhm.
Feeling follows the thinking, as much as a lot of people think otherwise. It's not something happened and you feel, it's what you perceived to what happened. That's how you feel, and how you perceive is reflected in your thoughts. So if you feel bad, if you feel just anything less than you'd like to feel, right away address it with your thought. What are you thinking in the moment? As soon as you think, I'm not just feeling great, right away, what are you thinking? So this is another little easy step, easy tool to help you understand thought patterns and how you can change them. The next step is very easy. Just find a better feeling thought. And again, this is not a huge quantum leap. So you don't want to think, oh, like I don't know, something that doesn't feel realistic. You just feel one step better. And an important thing is that if you feel hopeless right now, and the better thought for you is being angry, then it is a better feeling thought. Because oftentimes people get discouraged and they say, well, I'm angry right now. Now, I used to be hopeless. Now I'm angry. I'm just useless.
Good,
No,
you're walking up the ladder then.
this is a vibrational ladder. Exactly. So,
Yes.
angriness is a stronger vibration than hopelessness. So if you know, and you will feel it, you don't even have to know this vibrational ladder. And I'll share that with you in the summit as well. But if you no, if you feel you're feeling better and you're angry right now, you just stick with it. Just don't stay there for a while, just move on to another better feeling thought right after, or not right after, but later.
Yeah,
So
it's so interesting the way all these disciplines work together. So one of the
mhm.
things that I'm certified in is energy leadership. So when you take that scale, you've got at the very bottom, which is not where you really want to be very long. It's victim. Then you move it up to let you move it up to anger. Then you move it up to rationalization, forgiveness, that not not no, not forgiveness, just rational. Yeah, it is that. I'm having a brain fart.
I
But
know
then you're gonna
that's
move it
okay.
on to compassion from there,
Mhm.
and then, opportunity, vision, and creation. So that it's all and when you think about the transcendental meditation, you go, "Okay, well, that's where everything all the creative things that you wanna do, all of that, it
Is
all
there.
comes together there." And
Exactly.
we don't as humans, we don't spend very much time there, but to be able to get there is a phenomenal thing.
It is a phenomenal thing. And I just want to remind everybody to be patient with this because, and the reason I'm saying this, because I'm still reminding that to myself too. I'm learning all these things and I'm a student every day and every second. And I remind myself to be patient as much as I'd like to be at that very top level every day at every second. It's not there. But the point is to find a better feeling, happier moment in the present moment. And gratitude is a big, very easy way to do it,
Huge,
but
huge,
very big. Yeah, it'll take you there
huge.
fast.
And just, if you look at energy leadership, I think there have only been a couple of people in the world that have been at that level all the time, and one of them was Jesus. So
Exactly. Yeah,
it's very difficult to be in that state all the time. But
it is. It is. It is. Um, it takes work. And that's
a
part
lot.
of that's part of the reason I said don't think anything is I'm always sometimes when people say it, I'm like, ah, I wish.
Yeah, shoot for the stars.
That's right.
You might hit the moon.
Exactly. And it's another reminder for everybody because before I knew better, I thought that something was wrong with me. And I want you to all know nothing is wrong with you. It's a human experience that we all have, and it takes work.
It sure does. Well, my goodness, what a pleasure to be able to chat with you on the air today.
It's a huge pleasure for me also to have you join our channel and answer all of the amazing questions. Thank you so much. I am very grateful for this in this moment,
Oh,
for our amazing experience. And more importantly, I hope that our audience found what they were looking for and more. And if you did not, please feel free to reach out at any time. Um, Please follow to find the information where you can reach out to me. Just follow instinctwithin.com or any social media. It's just at instinct within by YouTube or Instagram, and I will be very happy to address any questions, and I'll let you introduce your contact information if people have any questions potentially.
oh, absolutely. You can reach out to me at Ann at pilotfishstrategist.com. Um, or you can go straight to the website. There's a lot of information out there, and feel free to reach out to me from there.
Thank you very much, Anne, and everybody. Greatly appreciate your time. I hope you have a fantastic, wonderful day, and we will stay in touch and connected as one.
Thank you. Thank you
Thank
for
you.
joining us, everyone. And thank you, Anastasia.
Thank you, Anne.